Good morning, or afternoon, or evening, whatever time you're watching this. Either way, hope everyone had a good Christmas and had some time off. Back at her this weekend. Been thinking about it all week. Time to get cleaning this beast. And here's the project at hand. Today we're going to try to clean up this exhaust ports and these heads. Here's the manifold itself, which you can see. This is number 2 cylinder. She is coked, I guess you could call it. Definitely wouldn't just call it plugged. It is coked. Should look like that. That is bad. Man, that's bad. Number 3 looks good. Number 4 looks really good. It's actually a little dusty in there, which is the way it should be. And of course, the heads. Cylinder number 3 there. And number 2 are the bad ones. There's the F for the front. So, 2 cylinder bad, number 3 really bad. Now the ones in the middle, the intakes, you'll see they look wet, although they're almost always wet. You gotta remember that this is an oil bath intake, so the air is pulled down through the center of the air filter housing, kind of bubbles around in the oil before the air is pulled back up into the engine. Uses the oil to wick out all the dust, so this does tend to be wet most of the time. But we are going to clean it up. We're going to start working on the manifold first. Try chipping some of that out of there. I was going to order, or I did have some stuff on order similar to the Dodge fluid that they use for breaking down the deposits in the EGR valve, but it doesn't look like that's coming anytime soon. So I'm just going to try and chip this out the best I can, clean up the manifold, then work on cleaning up the heads. We're gonna press out the bearings. Got a spring compressor, so we'll compress all the springs, pull the keepers and the clips, take all the valves out, and polish everything up. All machine surfaces for new gaskets, and we'll go from there. Won't be too exciting today, but we'll kind of skip through the cleaning part quickly, and then we'll slow her down once we come to removing the valves and other parts like that. Well, that wasn't too bad. Still a little bit in there. I do got a small wire wheel that fits on my die grinder that I can poke down in there and just clean up a little bit more. But for the most part, it's pretty good. Now they do have these little, I don't know what you call muffler rings, I guess, that fit a little notch that's in there. They fit in here, and same thing as on the side of the heads. And I think they're just there to hold the gaskets on when you put it together. The two here in the middle, I cannot get out. They are like fused in there or something. They do not come off, but they don't really need to. As long as I get this edge in tight here cleaned up nicely, the seals will they'll fit right in there. These ones cleaned up real nice, so I'll just have to work on these a little more. Maybe get a pick in there to make sure the seal right in the 9-degree corner is clean, so the seals make a good seal. And then I just went over quickly, just over top of it to get any of the loose rust and crap off it. I'm just going to throw a little bit of high heat, flat black paint on there. Nothing fancy, but just something to finish it off, because I do plan on painting the entire engine. Probably the original Case Power Red, which is more of an orange color. I don't like it, but that's the color it was at the time. So I'm just going to work on these a little bit more off camera around the edges, and then we'll throw these heads up on the table. So I managed to get these out, working on them. I did just drive a screwdriver in the side and pop them out, which kind of bent them up a little bit, but get them out. What I did find is that an 1.5/16" socket that I have is like perfect. It fits right in the hole tight and snug. So all I got to do is take these over to the vise and tap them on until they fit around the socket, and go around it, make them nice and smooth, and it'll be good to go again. So I already took one valve spring off. I forgot to press record on the old camera here. But this is the tool I'm using here. This is a valve spring compressor. So what these valves are, or how they're held on, the spring sits down over top of the valve. This is the valve stem itself. This is the ring that goes in the top. And these, see if I can get a good view of these. Where are we at? There we go. These are the little keepers. Some people call them half moon keys. Inside you see a little notch. That fits in the little notch that's on top of the valve stem. So these just pop right in. And they're tapered, which fit down into this tapered hole here of this piece. And they just lock in there, and there's two pieces to them. That's them there. And then once they're off, the valve will slide right at the bottom. Now these are actually moving beautifully. I was worried that they'd be gummed up in there. So that's good. Now another thing, I've never worked on an old tractor like this before, but I have worked on cylinder heads. There's no valve seal. I don't know if this is common or what. This is the exhaust valve here on this side, but the only seals I see are on the intakes. Now, maybe that's common for these tractors. I'll have to look into it. If anybody knows, that'd be great. But that's what it appears to be, is that there is only a seal that I could see here on the intake valves, nothing on the exhaust. See if we can get another one out here. Get a good view. So we open this up. It's over the head of the valve. Oh. And we can press it. There it goes. One half falls off. The other half, the clip comes out. Open this up slowly. Move our parts. This valve's smooth like butter too. Moving good as well. And again, no seal. Maybe it's common. Maybe that's the way they are. I can't see the seal inside these ones, like I said. So we'll just continue on with the other two. That's all there is to it. So we're going to pull all these out. I don't know how important it is for all this stuff to be marked to go back in the original spots. So I am marking baggies here. So this says F1. This is the front cylinder going from the exhaust and inlet side. We're going to do F1, F2, F3, F4, and then there'll be rear 1, rear 2, rear 3, rear 4 for the valves. And I'll keep the seats and the clips and everything together with each valve. Now the valves themselves, can't mix them up between exhaust and intake because they're about 1.5 inches difference in length. But I just thought maybe it'd be best to keep them all separate and put them back to where they were. Now I do have a buddy that I met. He used to be an old mechanic for Case here in town, and he has all the valve grinding equipment that I need to grind these and lap these valves, and he is willing to show me how it's done and give me some hands-on experience. So we will be regrinding these valves down to the proper angle, and also the seats in the back side here where the valves go in, we'll be grinding those down as well. So all I got to do is get everything cleaned up the best I can. We'll be able to check them to make sure there's no bent valves, and then also get them ground down so they seat properly. Now this valve itself here looks like it's actually doing quite well. It's got a nice little shine all the way around the edge of it, but we will be redoing them all anyway. Alright, here we go here. These here are the valve seals. Now, I would have thought they'd be on every single one, but I went online to the manual and it only shows 4 valve seals for the intakes, and that is it. I guess that's normal. It does not show an exhaust valve seal in the breakdown. These are just little caps, or I think the computer actually said umbrella type, so there's no spring holding the seal on. It's almost like all it does is just stop the oil from running down the guide. So. Here's what it looks like on the other side. You can see just how much carbon is built up inside there. This is actually one of the good ones. So we will keep going on it here. Those seals do seem to be stuck on, but they are still available and easy to get, and they're cheap as well. So I'll pop those off and continue on. So now with all the valves out, we can start cleaning up the exhaust and the intake ports. Now I'm going to be a little more delicate cleaning these out. It's not a big deal, it is a cast steel head. One thing I got to keep in mind, on the intake valve, this is the hole for the injector tip where it shoots the fuel in. Then on the other side of this is a larger hole that is actually part of what they call a power cell. Now I'm not 100% sure how these power cells work. I do know they state that when the injector sprays the fuel into the engine, One atomizes fine mist like it should, and then there is a bit of a spray pattern that shoots straight across into the hole of this power cell, and it's supposed to increase power and performance. Now, it does state that there is little to no maintenance to be done on these, and I guess they never really had to be taken out. So I am going to leave them. They are easily accessible from the outside of the engine if I do need to pull them out to clean them to see what's going on. So we are going to leave those for now and then just continue on with our cleaning. So this is only after a couple minutes of cleaning. So even at this point, I would say it's 100% improvement. Look what is coming out of this engine. It's like coal. It's like digging for coal. So, we are, first exhaust port. All the big stuff that has to be chipped out is now out. Now the light does make it look a little worse in here than it is, but all the heavy stuff is out of it. And this is what we got. This is like an inch deep pile, about, I don't know, 4 inches across, of all the carbon that we chipped out of one exhaust port. Now you can clearly see the injector hole where the injector squirts the diesel through. And then up top here is the inlet for the power cell. I'll have to read up a little more on those to see if I should take it out, even though case itself says they're not a serviced item because there's very little problems with them. But I'm sure there's someone on the internet who differs or has something different to say about that. You see she's pretty clean inside. The only thing left to do now is I'll get a brass wire wheel on my die grinder, and I'll run that down through the exhaust. I'll also run it inside here, being careful not to come up against the valve seat itself. I'll just do the opening here inside just to clean it out, and then we'll run it through this exhaust port. Then we use a little solvent, maybe brake clean or something. We'll clean inside these ports, get rid of all the sticky residue, because we are going to buff the entire face of this head to make sure it's nice and clean for when it goes back together. For the most part, we got her degreased and cleaned off. There's a little bit of oil down in the oil jacket itself, but not a big deal. So now we're going to use the die grinder, clean all the ports and all the valve holes and stuff. And we also have a little grinding disc that we'll use to polish the face of this block as well, or this head. So I got all my safety gear, and we'll get at her. There we go. Get one head cleaned and polished. All buffed out. Ready for grinding. I'm surprised how pitted the head is inside. I don't know if that's just from use or maybe the carbon bouncing around in there. But really it's not that bad, I guess. But everything is clean. That was my main goal. Clean as can be. With any luck, next week I'll be able to get these ground and get the valves done. So that's it for the head. Now I just got to go do the other one. Sitting over there on the floor nicely. But before I jump on that, I am going to grab the bags of valves and seats and stuff that I took out of this one here. I'm just going to wipe the oil off them, clean them up a little bit, and then make sure they're labeled good so I can put everything with this head. So that's the end of this video for the day. I'm just going to carry on and do the second head. No need to video that. It's the exact same process as I did this one. Hopefully there's no problems as well. Now next week, I'm not sure if I'll get a video out. See how things go. One with the grinding and one that just has some other things I got to get taken care of. So if I'm not here next week, don't worry. I will be back. Hope everyone has a good new year.